The Falkland Islands are called the Falkland Islands. They are British. The people on the islands want to be British. We fought a war over them and we won. They are ours. But the European Union, which of course includes such international powerhouses as Luxembourg, which is basically the size of a hemorrhoid on a continental prolapse, appears to want it to be called Islas Malvinas. Now, of course, I completely understand how the European Union's member states might be confused about the concept of winning a war and what that means. It might be worthwhile having that explained to them. Europe, of course, would be speaking German if it wasn't for us. It is, of course, the Belgian politician Charles Michel who piped up saying the UK is not part of the EU. They are upset by the use of the word Malvinas. And if they were in the EU, perhaps they would have pushed back against it. Short memories, those waffle-baking chocolatiers, haven't they? The British Army ultimately suffered a death toll of around 60,000 in Belgium during World War I. The Australians, 10,000. Canada, 4,750. New Zealand, almost 2,500. South Africa, 510. I am sure his great-grandparents didn't mind the British or us laying claim to overseas territories then, did they? It's also worthwhile noting that when Putin invaded Ukraine, it was Britain who stepped up with hardware and weapons, while the Germans pontificated over sending some helmets. Perhaps they were concerned that there'd be a typo and every single man named Helmut would end up going to the front line. And of course, we couldn't have that, could we? Not after what happened the last time they tried to fight the Russians. Just a reminder that in 2013, the Falkland Islands referendum, 99.8% of islanders voted to be part of the UK family. Again, I understand that continental cabal of questionably corrupt cretins on the EU gravy train might not understand the concept of democracy, but in Britain, we certainly do. They don't like elections in the EU, do they? Or referenda, for that matter. On a serious note, though, calling the Falkland Islands Islas Malvinas is a huge mark of disrespect to the 255 British military personnel who died fighting the Argentinians and all those who were wounded both mentally and physically. Rishi Sunak said it was a regrettable choice of words by the EU, but it wasn't regrettable at all. It was deliberate. It was deliberately insulting. It is also incredibly petty. And it's that kind of backstabbing, snivelling, snidey behaviour that made Brits want to leave the European Union. Now, it goes without saying that I would never be that petty or insulting. I would never be that childish. I would always seek to take the higher ground and not retaliate in any way, just in case I offended our European friends, no matter what part of the onion-wearing, siesta-taking, cheese-munching, clog-loving, quite often surrendering bit of the continent they happen to come from.